In the event of nuclear war, that was an option for the skippers of the Royal Navy to go to Australia. Interesting. Well, I have to say I'm probably the least interested in the AFM. So this is either going to be pro-Entente or pro-Syndicalist. These two, less so. Although it could also be victory for the Guard instead of democracy. I think the democracy is just going to be by far the most stable, which means the most industrial. They just don't have any, like... Well, that's not necessarily true. They're going to have the most stability, but for example, the Syndicalists I think are actually going to have more production. Or the AFM. Okay, so we'll have to take that as it comes. I think I'm going to start with the Australasian Research Council. Or State of the Economy. Let's get State of the Economy so we can get the industry going. The Australasian economy has been suffering from a severe depression for the last 5 years. We must assess where these opportunities lie and prepare our industry to be properly expanded if we're to have any hope of pulling ourselves out of this quagmire. Hey, Linus. Yes, we'll do that. Then... or we could start building some dockyards. Do we start with any? 5. That's a decent number, but I think I'd like to have 10. That's another question, actually. Do we get any naval yards? Cockatoo Island gets us 2 more. Upgrading the naval reserve. Dockyard output minus 75% for 180 days. Mothballed part of the fleet will be brought back into service, a process that could take 6 months or more, or we can scrap them. Navy for the Pacific. Naval max range, submarine attack, capital ship attack, screen attack. Marines. Destroyer subs, light cruisers, heavy cruisers, and battleships. Not dreadnoughts, though. Australasian shipbuilding. Shipbuilding production cost down 10% for everything. And dockyard construction speed up as well. More dockyards, more dockyards. Or the defensive navy focus. This is only possible if we scrap the reserves, and this is only possible if we don't. So this increases speed, decreases range, increases sub-defense, cap ship armor, screen defense. Submarines, destroyers, and then coastal forts. Oh, right, this is max range. So this is going to be Pacific, and this is going to be coastal. I mean, honestly, a navy without defense, with all the colonies the Entente has, would give us a lot of range. But if we were to join, for example, the Union of Britain, then we may well want this. Especially if we're going to be up against Canada early, as I have a feeling we may well be. What's the status of the fleet and how old are those ships? We don't know how old those ships are, but the capital fleet are Weltkrieg, 2 improved carriers. Those are quite new. Oh no, 1 improved carrier, 1 experimental carrier, which is pre-World War One. Weltkrieg, into war. It's ancient. It's a really, really old fleet. So not expecting too much from that. Plus I'm assuming that we've not got the engines upgraded. No. This is one thing I really wish Kaiserreich would fix. The fact that we have a tier 3 ship with tier 1 engines. It's really irritating. Check the national spirits. That's another good option. Small legation city dividends plus 250 output. Anzac spirit division organization minus 2, but we get recovery rate plus 10, division attack plus 5, and defense plus 5. Bled dry. This is the bled dry one. Recruitable population factor minus 20%. I have just noticed how much manpower we have available. Uh-oh. Surrender limit and war support. Economic depression. Political power goes down. Stability down. Construction speed down. Production efficiency down. Factory output down. And resources to market down. But I'm assuming that this means we don't get hit by a Black Monday. And then we have the oversized fleet, which also reduces our fleet coordination, consumer goods factories, and dockyard output. And I think we probably keep the oversized fleet. Nope, that's removed if you overhaul them. Which requires all 3 of these. Wait, we had the hood? Did we? So we do. A tier 3 battle cruiser. The hell is a battle cruiser? They don't exist in this game. The hell is a battle cruiser? Admiral class. Where's the Admiral class? We don't actually have a design for it. There it is. It is actually a class. But what is it? Is it a light battleship or is it a very heavy cruiser? And this is why I'm confused. For those of you who don't understand why I'm confused, it's because there are submarines, destroyers, cruisers, cruiser carriers, armoured cruisers, fast battleships, dreadnoughts, and then heavy carriers. I know what they are historically. I don't know what they are in game mechanic Kaiserreich terms. Those are British ships. Why does Australasia have their ships? Because after Britain fell in the First World War, they all fled to Australasia. They basically split between Australasia and Canada. So Canada got a bunch of them, Australasia got a bunch of them. Then the Union of Britain had to build their own from scratch, which is why the Union's ones are a lot earlier. A lot more modern, not earlier. The opposite to earlier. So where is that Admiral class? See, these are battle cruiser hulls. They don't actually exist. Panzerschiff, those are the heavy cruisers. So these have got to be light battleships. No. Wait, what kind of armor are you equipped with? Armor BB0. These are light battleships, I thought so. Allowed module categories, heavy armor scheme, Panzerschiff armor scheme. Okay. Unfortunately, even though this is a tier 3 ship, it's kitted out with entirely tier 1. And it would cost half the price of a new ship just to upgrade the engines. Subs are so overlooked. Not by me, Rodzilla. Not by me. And to onto your question, Orchestra. The one you may have heard of is actually a mod, which is Prophecy of Pendor for Mountain Blade. I was one of the senior developers on that. In terms of games themselves, I'm still working on one called Starium, which is a massively multiplayer grand strategy, effectively. So think Stellaris, but with 10,000 players. But it's not out yet. Still in development. Should be able to talk about it more in... What are we now? July? 3 months. We're having a Kickstarter in September. And yes, I will be talking about it a lot more nearer that time. The Hood with 21 knot speed. Yeah, this is why I'm annoyed, because the Hood is supposed to be like one of the most modern ships. At least historically it was. And... yeah, it's not. It really isn't. This is something they fixed in vanilla now. All the ships that are beginning of a higher tier start with higher tier equipment. Sub's got a big buff recently to the point where people in the big multiplayer Kaiserreich game are going sub-only a lot of the time. That's just because they don't understand how navies work. Sub-only has been the meta for a very, very, very long time. Up to man the guns. And even post the man the guns to an extent because their visibility was broken. That has also, to an extent, been fixed. So get decent destroyers and you can counter. Anyway, I still haven't decided what the hell I want to do here. I think I'm just going to go ahead and pause. Nope, we need to build stuff. Do I want to bother with infrastructure? What's the infrastructure like? Not great. So I don't think I'm going to bother with dockyards because we could potentially be getting a bunch of free ships. The other thing with infrastructure is we are going to be getting some. 2 in New South Wales, Victoria and Canberra. Three in all of those. New South Wales, Victoria and Canberra. So these can go up to level 7. And that'll do for now. Research. I'm getting industry already, so I'm not actually going to get construction because to get the focus and then construction will actually be quicker. So I'm going to do something weird. How long is this focus? 42 days. So I'd effectively be wasting 12 days. So is there a super short technology I can do? Huzzah! And I mean really short. Doctrine, something else we should start with. Well, we want mechanical computing, for sure. I think I might also go for synthetic oil, because we're going to have a fairly mechanized military. So I can upgrade the oil supplies. The other thing we need to double check, actually, are the designers. So we have a heavy tank designer, which is soft attack, hard attack, max speed. Useless. Medium tank, which is really good. Which is soft attack, hard attack, and breakthrough, which is a great combination for a medium tank, especially a medium tank SPG. Or tank destroyer. Light tank, that's a moderate one. And then... oh, a second upgrade. Oh, now there's only one tank designer. I liked it when you had multiple. They've gone back to the vanilla system here, and I don't like this. Although this one, being a tank designer, does allow you to get better cruisers and tactical bombers, which is kind of interesting. So we could do a base strike. Cruiser manufacturer. Ooh, these are some nice cruisers. Or destroyers and subs. These are some really nice cruisers. Air attack, agility, range, air defense, max speed, reliability, or strategic bombing. Weapons manufacturer, soft attack, breakthrough, soft attack, hard attack, breakthrough, defense, reliability, artillery, soft attack and breakthrough, and motorized. And then industrial. I'm actually half tempted by Vickers Armstrong for the cruiser upgrade. and then the second cruiser upgrade. And we'll go for armoured cruisers and light cruisers. Which would mean base attack for the cruiser upgrades. Or we could use them as raiding and do trade interdiction, although defending our convoys then would be almost impossible. Second question, what doctrines are available? If any. There is absolutely no doctrine direction. Just get a blanket doctrine upgrade. Interesting. I like the idea of going Uber Cruiser. So let me find my notes, which aren't actually here. Be right back. Did a nice overview of what all the doctrines do, and I want to see what makes the cruisers the best. I feel like I'm pulling an Arumba here. Alright, man the guns, Naval. Light cruiser organization, base strike, plus 60. Heavy cruisers don't get anything. Although, this is vanilla. Do heavy cruisers get anything under this? No. Yes, no, those are carriers. Carriers. Do light cruisers and light carriers? Heavy carrier organization, cruiser organization. I think I might do light cruisers and light carriers. Oh, there's carrier again. Heavy carrier, targeting sortie efficiency, carrier overcrowding, fast battleship, capital ship, heavy carrier. Cruisers. Or we have over here armoured cruisers and cruisers. So we could use them really effectively for raiding. Like really, really effectively for raiding. Although the fast battleships are better for that. We get a little bit of carrier upgrade from this. And that's all submarines until the end here. We get another boost. Well, fleeting being, which is more for destroyers. Their cruisers are actually a bit weaker. I wonder if those light carriers count as cruisers for the armor and stuff. Because they do come out the side of the cruise. I reckon they probably do. So I think that's what we're going to do. We're going to do light cruisers and light carriers, and we're going to do base strike. Does the cruiser org in the base strike include armoured cruisers? No. Just light cruisers. They specifically have their own upgrades, which are the armoured cruisers, which we saw here. Armoured cruiser, surface detection, visibility, rating efficiency, organisation. So if you want good armoured cruisers and cruisers, then you want trade interdiction. But the problem with trade interdiction is if you do start losing convoys, you have basically no defence against that, because the trade interdiction detection is terrible. At least submarine detection. Surface detection, you're okay. But fleet and being have the best convoy defences, and base strikes are entirely reasonable. That's what this line is. Weirdly, the convoy protection line for the trade interdiction is better carriers, which seems like a really bizarre upgrade path. But trade interdiction versus trade interdiction basically means everyone dies. It's mutually assured destruction. We're going to go base strike. Decision made. And we have basically no convoys, so we're just going to go ahead and just churn out convoys. We are building some absolutely ancient and utterly pointless aircraft. So, actually, these are level 1s. These aren't pointless. And we have carrier variants for everything except for the fighter. Because, of course, we do. So, in fact, I think what I'm going to do is we're going to make the carrier variant. Actually, we're going to need to research better carriers at some point, too. Which we can do in 2 years, so in 38. Until then, we're using these improved carriers. Of which we have 1, don't we? Yes. So how big is this? 40 planes. That's decent. Go with 30 naval bombers and 10 fighters. So I think actually, instead of fuel storage, we're going to start researching the naval fighter. Like so. And we could start building... Except we definitely don't have the infrastructure for this. No, never mind. And then the other thing is land doctrine. Which is probably going to be mobile warfare. Although we're going to be extremely oil hungry. Like, to a crazy extent oil hungry. But that we do not have the manpower for anything else, really. So oil hungry it is. So screw artillery, we don't need it. Sports equipment as well for now, and then we'll just get naval bombers. So we don't have any resources. Oh my goodness, what do we have? We have tungsten, steel, and a tiny bit of chromium. No aluminium whatsoever. Oh. Chromium for heavy tanks and then advanced ships. Except we're probably not going to be at war with Germany. Not for a long time anyway. Who are we likely to be fighting? Only really the International. Have I chosen a political path yet? No, not yet. I mean, that's also part of it. Is we do need to decide that at some point. I think early on we're just not going to bother with aircraft because we can't afford them. Like, we don't have any of the resources required. So we're just going to do infantry equipment. And we're going to churn out a bunch of cheap divisions, probably, so that we can send volunteers. Status of the Confederation. Formed in 1924 as a result of the Consolidation of Resources Act, the Australasian Confederation is a combination of the British Australasian Dominions, Australia and New Zealand, as well as the territories of the British New Guinea and Fiji. The years since the Welsh Creek have brought great change and hardship. The war strained both society and economy, which in Australia manifested itself in the short-lived Melbourne Commune. Although disowned by the then ruling Labour government and put down by demobilised Australasian Imperial Force veterans, this resulted in the implementation of the emergency protocols, the suspension of elections, and the appointment of William Birdwood as the Governor-General. Then, the British Revolution in 1925 shook the empire to the core, and Australasia was unable to prevent the loss of territories to the Germans. More than 10 years on, the situation is still unstable, as the economy remains stagnant and domestic dissent continues to grow with Birdwood, alongside his ally Billy Hughes' Nationalist Party barely holding things together. Advance Australasia! Onwards! What's the point of sending volunteers? You get rewards for them. Yeah, you get to choose which country people switch to. So civil wars in this are a lot more important, I would say, than civil wars in vanilla. So, for example, the American Civil War between the Communist States of America, the American Union State, the Pacific States, and the United States, each of those factions will join one of the major factions, probably. It's like the United States or the Pacific States can join the Entente, the American Union State will join the Germans, and the CSA will join the Internationale. So if you want the socialists, for example, to grow stronger, then you need to support the socialist civil wars. Same for America, same for Spain, same for Russia. Those are the main ones. Commie Australasia will be an interesting, challenging for a navy-wise too, fighting against Germany and the Entente. Yeah, that's one of the things I was thinking about. That would be interesting. Elections in the Antipodes were suspended by the emergency protocols enacted in 1923, which also led to the dissolving of the autonomy of the separate New Zealand Parliament. However, elections are now set for March this year after Stanley Bruce successfully campaigned for their reintroduction. Governor-General Birdwood was forced to make this concession when Bruce defeated Hughes for the leadership of the Nationalist Party. Bruce's decision not to act as an unelected Prime Minister resulted in the expulsion of his faction from the Nationalist Party and Hughes' recall as Prime Minister. However, the public would not accept the government reneging on its commitments. Australasia can ill afford a repeat of 23, as the spectre of the Melbourne remains fresh in the minds of many. We have to give way to change. In fact, we should also take a look at our armies. Because I have no idea what the quality of our commanders is. So we have a... Yeah, oh god. So he starts with Logistics Wizard. Or he can do. Moore's Head is probably Freyberg's. Yeah, Freyberg's definitely our best commander. He starts with Organizer as well. I think I'm going to promote you straight away into a... Wait, why can't I promote? Oh, I just need... Yeah. I think we're going to promote Freyberg to a Field Marshal. And that'll be good. We have a Hill Fighter, we have a Trickster. Artillery Officer. I'm rethinking my artillery-heavy armies now. Maybe we do want heavy artillery. We do have tungsten. We have natural tungsten supplies. And we have a cavalry officer, which means better mechanized. So I think Robertson's the one that we really need to boost up, but we could also use Berryman. And we have an armor officer too. Australasia has some potential.
Alright, sir.
Moore's does start with pretty high stats. And then the other thing we need to double check, of course, is naval commanders. Ooh, Collins is quite good. So is Colvin, though Colvin doesn't have any abilities at all. Spotter and Superior Tactician, you would be... probably an escort... No, recon commander. Battle Fleet Commander, or maybe you as the Battlefield Fleet Commander. Although positioning for battle fleets is super important. We don't have any air carrier people. Assassination of President Kerensky. Kerensky has just been shot and killed while on his way to the Senate. The assailant was also taken down by the police, but the goals and the intentions of the attacker were unknown. Wrangel has already seized power.